You're listening to All Things 3D, where we talk about the world of fabricating, designing, and capturing in the third dimension.
Hey, Mike. Whoa. This looks pretty fun. It's a Halloween themed graveyard cemetery zombie. Ooh. What is this? Whoa. Yeah, you got eaten. What is this, Mike?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That is, actually, I'll go back to it. That is a new little little game that I've been working on using NEODiVR technology. Let me bring down the sound on that. I'm using UnityFi, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. This is the new demo that will be available for Android tomorrow, but will also be available for iOS a little bit later after it gets approved through Apple. Actually, I'm trying to rebuild it tonight and running into some problems, but that always scares me. So essentially, that's my pal Gary behind me, Gary the Ghoul, and the objective of this particular little, what do you want to call it, Google Cardboard / NEODiVR demo game is to go out and find 5 special pumpkins before Gary the Ghoul gets you. He's also got a couple of pals, and there's a few other surprises that you have to avoid. And this is a game that if you get eaten, that's it. You start all over again. So, and the pumpkins are spread out throughout this little environment. It's about 1 square mile. And so if you're using the NEODiVR system, it's a lot of walking. However, there is a little magic cross that you can take around with you and actually get yourself out of tight spots. But I'll leave the rest of it for tomorrow. Okay.
Very cool.
Hey, we've got a lot of things to cover in today.
Yeah, today's Week in Review with All Things 3D. It's a Halloween episode. We're day before Halloween. I can't believe it's already here. Oh, I know. So today, October 30th, 2015. And yeah, we've got plenty of news items to go through and talk about what happened this week. What do you say, Mike?
Well, you've got the first one, right? Or actually, I do. So let me jump to it. But I was actually hoping that we would have Dr. Klioze on today. We've had him on before. He's the expert radiologist / engineer that has done a few YouTube videos. And so I was hoping he would come in and expound upon the mobile imaging products that are out there. But obviously, that has not happened. He did email me earlier about a link. Maybe he's having some issues trying to do this on his phone. So maybe I should have started a little earlier, but you know, I do need a few hours of sleep. All right, on to the first item. So if you remember, gosh, almost when we started, I tried to get a hold of this guy. He is from, his name is Wang Ling Wong, and he had actually created a prototype Tiny Boy way back when, like history of us, about 2 years ago, about November, December. And I wanted to get him on because he was from Hong Kong. And at that time, 3D printing was pretty much in its infancy as far as a lot of people trying to get into it. And I thought it was unique because he's wanted to do something for the school system, for the kids. So if you can see there's his little tiny boy. Looks kind of like a little, plexiglass, even plastic container.
Almost like an Ultimaker.
Yeah, in fact, surprised. But they're using something. Let's see if they've got some more images here. Notice the fan system. There's a smaller one and then the extended version. So yes, and that's okay because I don't know if you saw the news, but Ultimaker finally released into public all of their new Ultimaker 2 design information, including their to-go, which is their smaller one, which we've had on the show, as well as their extended version. So that could be the reason you're seeing this. You know, the pricing seems very reasonable. $279 for an evaluation kit.
Looks like pretty nice construction too, all around.
Yeah, I think it's a very reasonable price. So if you're looking for something, this guy's been working pretty hard at trying to get this up and running. Actually, it's Parker Luong. He's worked with the library system, and here you go. Here's a classroom-friendly environment. That would be kind of fun. It's small and portable. Here's some images there behind me. So yeah, it looks like a really unique little unit. It's not overly designed, but it's still a clean finish. Here it's shown next to a little Mac Mini. And obviously they've got two different sizes. So, I mean, it looks pretty reasonable. I like their hot end design. It looks like they have multiple types of designs. They use some decent sized stepper motors, which are important. Obviously they've had a few years to see what other people have been doing. Here they've actually showed their overhang test. That's actually, wow, for $279, which I'm assuming is for the smaller PLA version. That's pretty good. And here's some more information behind it.
It's the tiny boy.
It's the tiny boy. Well, so if you're still looking for something this holiday, obviously it probably will not be ready. Well, let's see what the date says on when it'll actually release. So the $319 is for the L16. That's still not bad. That's for the extended version. And let's see, it comes some PLA, so I don't know if it, I guess it doesn't have a heated bed, so it's PLA only, which I don't think is a problem anymore. So if you wanted a classroom package for 4 machines, that's actually not bad either. Oh, well, so it appears June 2016 is when they're going to actually have these available. So if you back them now, you won't be seeing something for 8 months, 7 months, but regardless, oh, look, their early bird was even better, and that's already sold out for $278. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I've tried to get him on, but I've been following him. He's really dedicated to the school systems. All right, back to you, Chris. Next item.
All right, next item is the LulzBot. Of course, I'm covering LulzBot, one of my favorite companies.
They must be giving you freebie items or something.
Nope, no freebie items, but they this week announced on their store version 2 of their LulzBot mini Flexystruder head, and they're also for the Taz. So for $300, they released a Flexystruder version 2, which is good for flexible filaments like Ninja Flex and Semi-Flex and Ninja Tech filaments. So those flexible filaments that are somewhat difficult to print. Here's the new version 2 with their hexagonal hot end.
Didn't you have one of these already, or is this a new one?
I had a Flexi dually head, but I ended up disassembling it, taking it apart, and using some of the parts, which wasn't that cost effective for me to do, but I needed parts. So I took it apart and put some of the pieces on my Delta printer. And I have to say that the LulzBot extruder, it's basically a modified Wade's extruder, and it just is a very reliable extruder for just kind of like an open source. They also have like the modular connectors, so like Molex type connectors, so wiring it up to the board is just a snap. It's just so easy to get in it, to install one of these and have it line up with your Rambo or whatever kind of printer board you're wiring up. And it just makes, I prefer everything to be modular, so you can quickly take it apart, nothing's soldered together. But this is version 2. I haven't bought one of these, but I figured I'd just report that they have these now for sale on their website.
Very, very cool. Yeah, well, as you know, I've talked to LulzBot on a few times when I've gone to some of the shows that I have, because they seem to be everywhere now. Because of dedicated people like you, they seem to probably doing fairly well. It's funny with private companies, you don't really know how well they're doing, but if they keep showing up at shows, they're getting money from somewhere. But kind of cool. All right, I'll go on to my next item, which is about the world's fastest 3D printed RC car, and I'll just throw in a little video. Again, this is made with an Ultimaker. This was actually an article done by Sanders from Ultimaker. We've had him on the show before.
Is that most remote
Is
control
that
cars
too
are
loud?
only
Is that
designed to
okay?
go 40 to 50 miles an hour.
Chris,
What's that?
is it loud enough?
There's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, I was listening to what he was saying. Sorry. Wow, look at this thing.
Ivan Bracknell in the UK.
This guy takes it dead serious.
With the Ultimaker, its main purpose for me is to build the body shells. I can design in software a aerodynamic body. Especially with the extended, I can use a larger area. The main benefit is that I can create shapes with a printer that you cannot create easily with any other means. Now this would have to be a two-part print, whereas with the extended, I've been able to make it its full length, therefore eliminating a weak spot and making it a lot cleaner. The less joins, the more aerodynamic it is, the less disturbance you're going to get from the air. And it's all going to make a huge difference when they get to the end testing. Each time we run, we try and go a bit faster, we try a bit harder. There's always a challenge of wanting to go faster and wanting to go more. It's very addictive. Most of the challenge and the joy is designing the part and taking a part from a concept, essentially a prototype part, to an end product, getting it on the car and actually using it, because it's all very well to just think of something. It's another thing to have the first hand into building it, making it, and running it.
Look at that thing. It looks like that salt flat.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. What? Oh. 113 miles per hour.
The good thing is,
Now, what do they
it's
say?
out of the box thinking. I don't know anyone else that has thought to 3D print a body on a speed car. With a standard Lexan body, it's very flexible. So when the car's going at over 100 miles an hour, it will bend and deform. With a 3D printed car, you don't get that because you can set the thickness, you can set where the reinforcement parts. So you can essentially build a body to your specification that actually works. When you've built something yourself and you can put it down and it works how you want it to, I don't think you can beat that feeling.
Pretty neat. Okay, so on that note, here's the actual. Oops, I don't want to show it again.
Via Ultimaker, their website.
Yep. So there you go. Go ahead, Chris.
Wow, and via Ultimaker Extended was what he printed the body on. Yeah. Pretty sleek-looking car.
With it, the Extended basically is the Ultimaker 2, but with an extended height. I think it's twice the height or close to it.
Pretty awesome machine. Awesome. Well, thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. All right, back to you.
Okay. So this is via space.com, the first hardware store in space, commercial 3D printer launching in 2016. They have partnered with Lowe's, the California-based startup Made in Space, has joined up with Lowe's to offer a commercial, in quotes, 3D printing little...
Zoom in on that? I'd like to see that.
I don't know if this is a real picture or if it's just a... but they are planning on basically putting a hardware store in space. So I don't really know what that means, but the article kind of talks a little bit about some of the verbiage that they've released, talking about maybe selling parts to whoever needs them up there. So I think they're just planning on putting basically another printer up that's maybe a little bit more sophisticated, can do a little bit different materials. And so you can read more about it at space.com.
Wow, pretty neat. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe Lowe's is providing NASA a little money. I don't know. Okay, well, on to my next item. We're into the Scanner Darkly section now of our podcast. Here we're going to talk about we still need to get back to 3D in medicine. So I'll finish this up, and then we'll get back to it, because you've got a pretty neat item that I think would be something to share. And again, sadly, we don't have Dr. Klioze with us today. So I wanted to cover this last week and actually had them email me. Looks like an interesting little device. This is the Orbeck Perse, world's first 3D camera computer. Now, if you look at it, it looks very, very similar. Sorry about that, audience. Here we go. So again, it's the Orbeck Perse, world's first 3D camera. It is being funded on Indiegogo. They've actually exceeded their funding already. So it looks like people are still clamoring for 3D scanning technology. But look at it. Doesn't it look very familiar to a few other products out there? I don't know. Maybe I've got one here. I don't know. However, what's cool about this is that, one, its price. Now, something that's not really mentioned is that the Orbeck Perse, the early bird, which is still shown there, is $199, but I think they have more than one version. But no, here it is. So essentially, it is not only the scanning unit, it looks very familiar or similar to the PrimeSense. Now, I asked them some direct questions, and they never responded to them. What makes this different than any other structured light systems out there? So since I didn't get a response, I can just assume that there isn't a lot of difference. So essentially, it's a PrimeSense or a Connect One, maybe a little bit more improved RGB camera. But other than that, it seems to be the same type of technology used in the structure sensor. However, it's all contained in a very small package, and as mentioned, at a very reasonable price of $199. So that's $179 less than the structure sensor, which still requires a computer. However, there is some caveats behind that, and I'll get to that in a moment. So back to the computer. It has an ARM-based processor built into it, so probably an Android-type device. So here you have it. It has a LAN connection, so you could use this for surveillance or other forms. It has an HDMI. Is that an HDMI?
It has a micro USB and an HDMI port on it.
Yep. So, and a USB. So there you go. It's very compact. One of my friends and guys out of Minnesota who does some augmented reality stuff said that, no, this is for real. The guy who designed it is like a Connect guru. So that might make sense to why it looks like that. So here we go. It's got the microphone. So yeah, essentially it's a lot of the Connect. Now, if you remember, the original Connect was about 4 times the size. This is more like the size of the Asus Action, except everything's built into it. So the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm convinced this might be interesting if you've got $199 to get. Now, as I identified, the actual color sensor, because again, this is very much of this is based off the PrimeSense, is only a 720p. And that's where the PrimeSense sensor before it was purchased by Apple had left off. So it's about, a 1280 by 720 camera. Now, and so you have that. The rest of the PrimeSense functionality is very similar. They don't have any specs here, but if you look at some of the images behind me, it looks very similar to other structure sensor quality. As you can see there, there's some accuracy, 0.5 centimeters, about the same. Actually, I can get a little bit better results out of my structure sensor than this. But the more important thing is that with the occipital structure sensor, it does not have a built-in RGB camera, so it uses the iOS device for that. But in saying that, it's $379 and you need an iOS device. This is $200 and doesn't require an iOS device because it's all built in. So that could be something to sway you in that direction if you're looking for something. As I mentioned, my friend up in Minnesota who's doing the augmented reality is very interested in this for what he's working on. So we'll see what he has up to. But here we go. So a quad-core Cortex A17 1.8, not the best ARM processor out there, but probably more than adequate for what they need here. So there you go. Pretty cool.
Pretty sweet little product there.
Yeah. Now, something that they have a special edition, and I guess that puts you in the Insiders Club, and then you get a volume pack. So if you need 10 of them, $890. That's what? Gosh, that's less than... I don't know. I can't do any math right now, but That's actually pretty good.
$89 a pop.
No, yeah, $89 a pop. That would be something to move into. Oh well, but essentially, there's some expertise behind this. If you go down to the bottom of it, there is your actual team there. So they've got some good brain power behind it. You know, this kind of snuck in there. It's actually been out there already. It's already exceeded its funding, more than likely because of this gentleman behind here. They have a little video, which I'll play very quickly, but you can go out and find more. All right. On that note, I think it's a very cool product. These guys actually know what they're doing. And like I said, they didn't respond to my questioning. So I'm assuming it's very similar to a Kinect, but everything is built into it, which could be the huge advantage of buying one of these. Okay, on to you, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Next up is a pretty cool article that came out of Philadelphia, NBC. 3D printer and 12 hours. A Delaware boy creates his own Robo-Hand at a local library. This little boy, you can watch the video here. If you get a chance, you can head out to nbcphiladelphia.com and you can watch a video about this little boy who has the amniotic band syndrome, which is pretty much where the e-NABLE project kind of got their start. And he has had a surgery on his left hand and still has, a slight disability. He's got like kind of short fingers. And he went over to the local library and where they have a MakerBot and just printed himself a hand in less than a day. In 12 hours, he spent a whole day at the library. What a cool kid to do that. And for less than $50, built himself a hand at the Technology Center.
So again, this is the e-NABLE program. That looked like the Raptor hand, if I remember correctly. So yes, pretty cool. Now, I want to give a little bit of backstory on libraries. Not all libraries have kind of moved into this. In fact, in our local library system here in San Luis Obispo County, I had offered to donate a printer to them, but they wouldn't accept it because they didn't have the manpower to do that. So if you're watching this and you're in the SLO County, I still have that printer to donate. If you've got the time to help them out, I think our main library here in San Luis Obispo would benefit from it. But again, they don't have the manpower to manage this. They're concerned about the heat and the possibility of burning. So I think if you've got time to donate, you're into 3D printing, go talk to your library. Even if you can't afford to donate one to them, maybe donate some time to get these off the ground. As you can see here, they had one. He was able to do it and built his own hand.
Pretty fun.
Pretty cool. Okay, well, this is the section where we get into what I call VR corner in a round room, because it's kind of crazy out there. But, we had actually just saw a video, and I'm going to have to bring it up real quick, on my VR game, demo, whatever you want to call it, that not only will use Google Cardboard, and I'm trying to work out some unique ways of navigating. I'm probably going to use ray casting, and I've been working on some technology for my products, which you need some reminding here because they're going to be coming out on Kickstarter pretty soon. This is the NEODiVR Junior. This is the yellow version, but I have also been working on what I call the extreme version, which I didn't have ready, and this is what you see here. So essentially it has an arm that attaches to a standard GoPro headband and extends in front of your eyes, kind of like a special forces type kind of character. So if you're into that, here's another image of it. So there it's extending, so you can see how that's going to work. I am working on the technology to provide 2 game buttons. Sadly, the responsiveness of the actual screen, because the way that Google Cardboard works in their newer version is that they have a conductive pad. So it takes the capacitance from your finger, sends it through a conductive pad to touch the screen, literally. So it's kind of funny. This is also being used in the Mattel, what was their product that we just reviewed the other day, the Viewmaster. So I'm using something similar to that. I found that if you extend it out too far, as you can see in the image here, it kind of dissipates the capacitance. So I'm actually going to be building in an actual little Bluetooth controller into this in a later version. Yeah, so this is where I'm at with it. This should be back from Shapeways in a week or two. I have to give them lots of kudos. They had sent back a design that had some unfinished parts. Talked to them about it. I only had one of them that was bad, but I was able to actually get 2 of them. So they sent me 2 for the price of 1. So cool for them. So here's the progress on the NEODiVR loop. Let me show you this image. I changed the bottom, provided more support. Again, it's also hinged, as you can see there, to provide the same kind of functionality. And you know what? This is actually my go-to little product. You know, if I go back to my own screen here, and this is the NEODiVR loop. So essentially, with the handle, which is built into the EOD mount case, you know, you can buy my product, or you can buy the Canon product. If you remember, we talked about it. But so part of what I'm doing, and let me bring it up real, is using the Uni game engine. And if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to bring it up here in a second, right behind me. And essentially, Unity 5, which is the latest version, is completely free. In fact, they haven't really skimped on any of the features from the gaming perspective. What you get if you go with the Pro version, and there is a version you can do a monthly subscription to. It's like, I don't know, I can't remember, $39, $70, somewhere in that price range. You get group capability and some more pro features, but as far as the actual video quality, it's about the same. You can actually publish games using the personal version until you exceed a certain point. That's the direction I'm going right now. They have an extensive asset store, which I have used in order to build my little demo called Graveyard. You know, if you're into 3D modeling, you realize it can take a long time. Luckily, there's a lot of people into it, so I didn't have to model everything. Basically, you can use it like a construction set and bring everything in it. There is coding involved if you want to get something extensive done, but I found that even that, it has a cool animation process. It was a little unintuitive when I first used it, but since then, it seems to make a lot of sense. They're very powerful. I found that as these things get more and more powerful over the years, with more and more features, you know, how do you wade through it? Well, one of the things is that they have a whole lot of online services. They do the annual kind of like boot camps that you can go to. There's obviously a lot of support on their own forum, as well as YouTube video tutorials. Right here, this is, it's got physically based shading, advanced. You know, we've talked about it, but after using this extensively, I went on to my own little crash course of, I think I've been got 8 hours of sleep in the last 3 days, 72 hours, but it's been coming along cool. What makes mine a little bit unique is that I'm using Google Cardboard as well as the e-NABLE system that I worked with Occipital on, so that you can actually literally walk around in the graveyard. And I'm pretty scared about meeting George with this thing strapped to my head. So if I don't come back, Chris, you need to find. So this is one of the things that I've been working on. The other thing, and thanks to my friend Chris, EOD Bright.
Oh.
So if you remember, I had Chris cut me some on his laser cutter, some plexiglass. I had Shapeways print out my boxes for me. I finished them, and then I put my blue steel in the back of it, so it supports both the NEOD mount original version, but it will also come with small magnets to support the version 2, or if you just want to attach it to anything. It has a micro USB cable on the end. I was going to build it into it, but I felt that added too much weight onto the body itself, so I just added a little cable. It was a little cheaper. It's about a 6-inch cable, micro USB. So most people have a micro USB cable. If not, you can always buy one. I may be including a small one here with a standard USB. Anchor, who hasn't heard of them? They provide a $10, actually it's less than $10 little lipstick. I get about 3 to 4 hours out of it. And here we go. Put a little light on the subject.
Put a little light on the subject. I love it.
So as you
The
can
thing's
see,
awesome.
it illuminates my face fairly well. And because, thanks to, again, Chris for cutting out the little plexiglass, I use a translucent white, makes it look cool. But more importantly, it diffuses the light. So when you're scanning at this distance or you're doing close-ups in your video, you don't want a lot of harsh light. And my biggest critic, my wife, who is very sensitive to light because she has severe migraines, she was irritated with the previous versions I tested on her. So she still complains a little bit about this one, but the light is softer. And obviously you can get closer. If you need more light, you can actually buy 2 of these and gang them together because they're like Lego blocks. You could buy more than them. Buy all of them from me. But this is ready. Essentially, I may have to find another source for my laser cutter because Chris said that he might not be able to do it, but he's got some friends. So I need to cut a bunch of panels, and I've got 3 or 4 ready to buy right now, and more on the way. But very simple design, low cost. I think it's like $39.95 in my Square store. So if you're interested in it, you don't have to have any particular platform. It runs off a USB source. Everybody's got a little battery of some sort. And there you go. In fact, I may be even offering the Anchor. So that's that. Let's see. I don't think I've got anything else. Did I forget anything?
I don't think so.
I think that's enough, right? So I went from, actually, we did talk about Graveyard already, and we already went into my splunking. So I think I'm pretty much done. So, Chris, the rest of the show is yours.
All right. Well, one more item via Kickstarter, because we were talking about VR, and obviously interface is a big part of the whole VR innovation that's happening. I just saw this this morning on Kickstarter. It's called Jester. It's actually a gesture motion sensor, kind of like Leap Motion a little bit. Their idea is to get rid of the mouse and keyboard. And so they've got this little device that's got accelerometers on it, and they can control the computer with gestures.
So, Chris, how did I miss this? Actually, I think I've seen these guys. Where are they based? In San Francisco?
I think probably.
They had some unit, never gotten back to me, but I have a feeling this is why.
No, they're Austin, Texas.
Oh, Austin. Well, I'm going to try and get these guys on the show because it looks like it's wireless, Bluetooth controlled, 9-axis more than likely, and multiple inputs. And how much is it? Scroll down.
Let's see. The super early bird's gone for $99, so they have them for $149.
Damn these super birds.
They're about a year out from, so you'll have to wait a year if you want to buy one. It
always concerns me if you're out that far. That means there's still, I don't know, that always, obviously, I've been burnt twice already. Still haven't seen my 6 cents, whatever the hell, I can't even remember the product now. By the way, the product before was the 6 cents Hydra, and they did come out with a developer kit, but they never exported it back to the Hydra, so a lot of developers are complaining. So what was it? The STEM system, which also provide multi-access remote functionality. That still seems to be vaporware. A lot of people are upset with that. I'm upset with it. I'm out $500, so that's pissing me off. But that's pretty cool. Chris, man, you never cease to surprise me. So I'm going to have to spend more money that I don't have and get these guys on our show because, as you know, I've also worked with a company out of Israel, and I finally got my products, but I don't have them ready to show. They are available, should be available very soon. They're a tiny little unit, and I won't show them until next week. But essentially, you can build them into anything. I think I talked about it. I'm building one into a bracelet so kids can wear it, but it will provide remote access of an arm so that you can move it in space. And something similar. Pricing currently is a little pricey for the developer. It was like $100. So we'll see. This product here, $149, seems very reasonable for what you get. But if you need something now, it's called Ember, and I did cover it in the previous show, so you'll have to go back, I think, 2 weeks and find it there. All right, Chris, don't we have a print whisper for today?
We do. The print whisper tip of the day is to step up your networking game and get out of your element. Go out, go do a field trip, go to a meetup, get out of your office, get out of your bubble, go meet some people. People need you. If you're into 3D printing, yeah, go ahead.
Chris, was that meant for me?
No, it's for everyone, including myself. Yesterday, I went to this incredible machine shop over in Fresno, California, which is about 2 hours away from where I live. And the people there, it's a top 10 in the United States machine shop. Incredible. The name of the machine shop is P&M CNC, and they have just so much knowledge in it. You know, I do additive all day long, every day, and you know, I obviously have things to offer them, but they had an incredible amount of insight and knowledge for me to take home on, you know, you start with a 3D print in the prototyping phase or short run manufacturing, but then when you want to go to actual production, whether it's to get molds made or even to just get parts made machined wise, you need to know what's possible, because what's possible in additive is not necessarily possible in the subtractive world. And so, and there may be ways that you can kind of save in production by using extrusions, and they have all this fancy manufacturing methods nowadays to compete with China and, you know, all the overseas production going on. So they've really, the U.S. manufacturers, most of the ones that are still around have really stepped up their kind of their game a bit on how they do things. And so just my print whisperer tip of the day is just to go out, whether it's to go to a meetup, to start a meetup. I mean, Mike, you and we've started a meetup, and we built I would love to do that again. But just to go and meet people, whether it's at the library or go to a local machine shop, get out there, figure out a project to just bring to one of these places, just so you can go and you can meet other people that are into the same thing. And you'd be surprised how much a collaboration can kind of get your wheels turning again.
You know, Chris, let me kind of chime in there. You know, I think this would be very timely, and I know that you've actually gone to some of the SolidWorks classes on this. I totally agree that people need to branch out, like myself. I have been designing basically for additive, either for FDM, or I do a lot of work now with SLS through Shapeways. But the design process is fairly easy. You essentially plop things together. That is not the case if you're doing additive. And I have not additive, I'm subtractive. Where I'm trying to work with a group out of Minnesota, and I can't think of their names. They're one of the bigger places. If you Google injection molding for the United States, they're first, I think they're ProtoLabs or something like that.
Mm-hmm. ProtoLabs, huge.
And they've got a lot of good tutorials, but I found out a lot of my designs just weren't ready for injection molded. So that is important, Chris, that if you're going to finally create a product for injection molding, take the time to learn how to do it. Because one of the things I learned right away is that you shouldn't have 90-degree vertical, what do you want to call it, butting points. They should all be sloped. So you have to build that in. And I wasn't aware of that. There was a couple of other things too that they caught me on my design. Easy to do in FDM, easy to do with SLS, but not so much because, as Chris mentioned, CNC is the process that they use to create these molds. They actually fill them out. So does this company up in Fresno also do injection molding?
They do not do injection molding. They are a machine shop, but they have some interesting machines that, or some interesting manufacturing methods, one of which, obviously, so vertical machining is when you have basically like a conveyor where the operator is loading, blanks onto one fixture that's going to go into the machine while the machine is running. Then as soon as the machine's done, it just swaps out the fixture, and then the operator takes those pieces off, puts new ones on. But this company does a whole other, they take it to the whole next level, and they do horizontal as well. So they have these gigantic things they call the Tombstone, and they were actually written up in the American Machiners magazine, American Machine magazine. And they kind of are pioneers in what they call the Tombstone. And so what they can do is they basically sell real estate on a giant block of aluminum that has a bunch of fixtures on it. And they have a robot that comes out, and so as soon as your inventory drops below a certain level, a barcode gets scanned and puts an order directly into the computer. The operators don't even do anything really other than replace tools or pull out the parts that are coming off. And then the robot just says, oh, that's next up in the order, goes and pulls the Tombstone. The operator's already loaded it up with blanks, puts it in the machine, and the machine starts working. It's pretty unbelievable that how sophisticated the robots have gotten now. They're like replacing humans at every front.
Hey, Chris, maybe in the future, because we do a podcast plus YouTube, maybe bring a video camera with you, try and capture some video.
I thought about that, and some of these places, obviously are kind of behind closed doors, and they, they're real open to people that are kind of in the profession, but they might not be so open as to let you film. I'm not sure. I didn't really.
Bring it, pull it out, say, hey, do you mind? And what can they do?
Sure.
They can slap your hand, but I would love, obviously I'm following your words, but it would be great to be actually. So if you ever go up there again, I would love to see some still images or some video of their operation there. Okay, well, I think that's about it. There was a show that occurred last week right in our own backyard, because it's one that you and I had visited. Gosh, when we first started this thing, I think it was back in late September or October. We actually went there. I can't remember, was it Santa Clara or San Jose?
Santa Clara, yeah. Well, I don't remember which city it was in, but they're both right there, Bay Area.
But this is the part of the show where we talk about what's been going on in the world of 3D printing. So what are we in? October now? Almost finished with October. And does it feel like October here in the California coastline? Central California? No. Feels like summer. However, the evenings are getting cooler. So what did we have? We had on 15th to 17th iPrint 3D Expo in China, which is coming along strong. The 3D Print Show in Paris, that's something that goes around the world. That was on the 16th, 17th. The one that we had here is Inside 3D Printing in Santa Clara. Let's see if I drop to that. That actually occurred last week. And here we go. And so some of the people that were talking, I got too busy. Oh, look at that. They have some virtual reality stuff. Everybody's doing virtual reality now. But I was actually going to speak there, but I got really busy and got tied up. But would have been nice to do that. Can't do everything. But they also had an exhibit hall. I don't know who actually showed up there. Oh, look, ProtoLabs. I could have talked to them in person. But mainly a lot of the big people. And if you remember when we went there 2 years ago, they had a lot of big people. It was a fairly small little venue, but they had a lot of people. Artec. So a lot of the big people appear to be going to this one. FlashForge, Formlabs. I would have liked to seen the new Formlabs. So what's the expectation of your Formlabs version 2?
Well, I guess apparently some of them have already shipped, because I've seen some posts with pictures of people saying they're celebrating and that it's really nice. But I have not got a shipping notification yet for mine. So, but as soon as I get it, I will definitely report back.
Okay. So, Chris, start thinking about it when you get back from, may I mention where you're going?
New Zealand.
He's going to New Zealand. Is it next week or the week after?
Yep.
Next.
A little under a week from now.
Okay, so I'm going to be on my own next week, huh?
Yep.
Better line up some guest crasher. Maybe I'll have, if Dr. Klioze can hang out with me next week, we can do that together. But wow, I'm going to be alone again. But on that note, the reason I mention it is when you get back, guess what happens in January?
What?
CES.
Yeah.
Oops, I don't want to do that. And with CES, we hopefully I'll be able to attend this year again. And who knows, I may actually be a vendor this year if I can pull everything together in time. And showing off NEODiVR Junior as well as NEODiVR Loop. Get a little small booth next to my buddies in China. China Row, I don't know what they call it, but essentially all just small vendors. But actually they did a good job. If you remember when I covered it, they had small little groups and larger groups. And it is huge, and they just opened up another wing. So it's like this thing just keeps growing. The new wing is more for marketers and press people, but it just, they obviously couldn't contain it all in one unit. But that's still 2 months off. Actually, gosh, less than 2 months now. So I better get on the go. But next week, I'm actually going to be able to show you the brand new hingeable NEODiVR Loop and Junior. And what else? Oh, probably some other things. I'll have the head-mounted system done and ready to go too, so you get a chance to see that. Chris, you're going to be missing out on a lot of things next week. You're going to have to catch it on the road.
I know.
Show it to all your new New Zealand buddies. Okay, Chris, I think it's time to wrap it up. We're supposed to do this in a half hour, but we seem to
do about 45 minutes. All right. Well, thanks to our listeners and our loyal audience, and we will see you next time on All Things 3D.
Bye.